Those of you who listen to this thing on a regular basis, you know exactly what's going to happen next. Everybody take a deep breath in. Exhale. Let's calm down. Let's go through this. We got a lot to talk about. I would say a lot. It's a couple of things. The UIL has updated some guidelines, lifted some restrictions. This is a very big deal. Not a lot of people did not see this coming. A lot of people did not see this coming so soon. So we need to make sense of it. We're going to talk about it rationally, and let's get after it. With that being said, good morning again, Daniel Valdez again. It's a pleasure and honor to talk to you. Whether you're listening on any sort of podcast app you might have, or Spotify, or Google Podcasts, or Apple Podcasts, whatever, or if you're listening onto the YouTube channel, youtube.com/the Danpodcast. Make sure to follow, if you have Facebook, make sure to follow TexasBands.com Facebook page. Make sure to follow me on Instagram at DanPodValdez. Pleasure and honor to talk to you, as always, once again. So let's just dive right into it. Breaking news. As of the 9th of June, the University Interscholastic League has made changes and updates to their COVID-19 summer marching band practices and rehearsals, schedule, thing, guidelines, whatever. Technically two main points, but three things actually kind of changed, and they're very, very significant. So let's just break it all down. Grouping limitations were removed, effective immediately, but specified distancing requirements still in effect. What does that mean? Grouping limitations, what the heck are you talking about? Well, when the original guidelines were sent out, what was it, about 3 weeks ago, a month ago, something like that? There were restrictions on how many people were allowed in a group on outdoor rehearsals and indoor rehearsals. When the guidelines were released, it said students may be placed in working groups no larger than 15 total students, and then they had to be distanced within the group and then distanced from other working groups then. That's gone. That is out the window. Indoor rehearsal, students may be placed in working groups no larger than 10 students. Of course, they had to be distanced within the group and then distanced away from other groups. That is completely eliminated. So that's what they mean by grouping limitations. That whole, you can't have more than 15 people in a group when you put on group, quote unquote, gone. Hey, you can only have 10 people in a group indoors, gone. Grouping limitations out the window. Limitations out the window. Effective immediately. So let's look at the timeline. 3 weeks ago, the UIL posted guidelines. They went into effect June 8th, which was Monday. 24 hours later, they made updates to it. This is a very good sign. Major kudos to Dr. Kent, who's the executive director of UIL Music. Major kudos to the team over there at the UIL for adjusting, listening to whom they work for, essentially, and adjusting and adapting. That's all it is. This whole thing's the whole situation's very fluid. So as things improve, obviously, restrictions are going to get lifted. Guidelines are going to be changed or amended or however they need to do. It's fantastic leadership by Dr. Kent. Awesome stuff. Happy anniversary, by the way, sir. Another change here. It's a very small change, but it makes a massive difference. One of the requirements for all the practices and rehearsals, I'm just going to go ahead and read the entire statement before this past Tuesday. Students and staff must maintain at least 6 feet of distance from all sides when not actively practicing or rehearsing. That's still in play. Here's the big change. When actively practicing and rehearsing, students and staff must maintain at least 10 feet of distance from all sides when possible. The word must has been changed to should, so it reads currently like this. When actively participating and rehearsing, students and staff should maintain at least 10 feet of distance from all sides when possible, and when possible is in capital letters. Changing the word must to should is a massive difference. It's a very big difference because you just went from that statement becoming a mandate to a suggestion. That tells me that the UIL is going to let schools kind of police themselves on this. It's no longer required to be 10 feet of distance from performer if they are actively practicing. It is now more of a suggestion, when possible. A lot of programs, I would imagine, are going to, if they haven't done it today, they're going to take advantage of that immediately, which is good. should maintain at least 10 feet of distance. And I know people keep saying, how are you going to put a marching show on? You can't learn drill until August 1st, okay? You cannot learn any drill until August 1st. The only thing you can do is play some music outside and, like, maybe do some fundamentals. Or have some sort of movement class. Other than that, you can't learn any drill on the field until August 1st. That's a UIL rule, and it's probably going to be in place well after I'm dead. So, just get used to it. One other thing that changed. 50% indoor capacity has been approved beginning on the 22nd of June. On the original guidelines, it basically said if you want to have an indoor rehearsal, you can only do it at 25% capacity. There was no timeline, there was no deadline, or any sort of date that said, hey, it's going to be lifted at this date. It was just kind of a blanket statement, 25% until we tell you otherwise. That's a big thing too. So now we get to have more students in there. Now 25% indoor capacity going to 50% indoor capacity. Now you can kind of put sections together. Now instead of, okay, we just have to have a baritone rehearsal because whatever. Now we can put maybe low brass together. Maybe we could put some high woodwinds together, low woodwinds together. Something you can kind of group students a little bit more liberally now, which is great. As you can see, it looks like their UIL is going to be kind of going in phases here. It was 25%. You're going to get 25% indoor rehearsal capacity from June 8th until June 22nd. So that's about 3 weeks. A little less than 3 weeks. Then you're going to go to 50% indoor capacity starting the 22nd. I imagine a couple of weeks after that, probably 75% capacity or go to 100% capacity. That's done for a couple of reasons. One, seems like we're kind of getting a handle on things with the whole virus thing. I don't know. we don't know so much. But also, I would imagine one of the big things is it is freaking hot outside. I'd say half of my job is done outside. And it is not exactly pleasant. So we obviously some restrictions have to be lifted because you can't have these kids outside all day long. Day after day after day after day. It's taxing mentally. It's taxing physically. Remember, these kids have been indoors for the last 2 or 3 months. So it's going to take some time to kind of get acclimated to the heat and be outside and, standing at attention and, doing everything that the marching band does on a regular basis. So that's going to take time to get used to. So just to recap, grouping limitations, that whole groups of 15 and no more, groups of 10 and no more, that's out the window. You can make the groups as long as you want, or as large as you want, except you've still got a social distance. You still got to have 6 feet between people when they're not rehearsing, and a recommendation, very key, of at least 10 feet of distance when they're actively rehearsing. And then indoor practices are up to a maximum of 50% capacity starting on the 22nd of June, which is about 3 weeks away. Let's talk about the calm down part. Remember that you still got to listen to local state health organizations. If they tell you, if your city if stuff goes crazy in your city and there's restrictions on that per city, then you got to abide by that. There are still restrictions on voluntary rehearsal. These are voluntary rehearsals. Furthermore, you can't sit there. They're voluntary rehearsals. You go there if you feel comfortable doing that. The other thing is, band directors cannot make their students make up a missed voluntary rehearsal. Those things are, they're optional, and that is still part of the plan. That has not changed yet. You still got to have hand sanitizer on the field or indoors. You got to have that. You got to have that ready to go. Another thing, you still have to follow the guidelines for anybody who tests positive for COVID-19. If you're experiencing symptoms and you get tested, and hey, you got tested and you're positive, so you got to self-isolate. Then we got to figure out who you were around. Then we got to self-isolate those people, and then you have to be out a minimum of however many days because since the first time you had symptoms, all that's still in play. This is not a free-for-all. I said that a couple of weeks ago when when the guidelines were first released. Like, hey, yeah, we're getting marching band back, but it's going to take some baby steps. This is not a free-for-all. The same thing here. Just because group limitations have been, the limitations on groups have been lifted, that doesn't necessarily mean we need to pack everybody in the band hall and okay, everybody play your horns 1 inch away from each other. Remember, band directors, staff, the school district, everybody involved in this whole thing does not want the band on the news. What do I mean by that? I mean, they don't want to be that program that shows up on the news and, hey, 40 kids tested positive for COVID-19. Now, they may all be asymptomatic. They may have just, hey, we're a little tired and we got a cough. But you don't want to run that risk of, hey, one of our students got really, really sick. Slim chance, yeah, but it's still too risky. So programs are going to have to decide for themselves. And there are some programs that may say, hey, we got the schedule down and this is how we're going to handle things. Some programs may be like, hey, let's have something next week where we just do some sort of movement class and we'll socially distance everybody. I got plenty of hand sanitizer or Tito's vodka or whatever the heck programs are using. I wouldn't be surprised if programs did that. I mean, it just kind of depends on every program is run different. So we'll see how that goes. Let me speak real quick about, if I were a director, I would absolutely call like an all hands rehearsal, just to have and just teach some sort of movement class where I play rap music in the back and we just work on moving our feet in time. Everybody properly distanced. Of course, I'm not a band director, and I'm pretty sure nobody would hire me. So here's why I would do that. If you're a band member, that's all you know. You might be involved in a couple of other organizations on campus, but most of the time, if you're in the band, that's your full-time job. So you go to marching band and you go to the football games and you go to contests and you sit in the stands and you go to each other's Christmas concerts and, because you're in a certain band, you probably have classes with a lot of other bandmates, and you go to concert season and you watch each other's concerts and you're in rehearsal and you tape for honor band and there's percussion ensemble and there's winter guard and there's all sorts of stuff. And then all of a sudden, all of that's gone. You're around these people constantly. Constantly. You see their faces all the time. You see the staff, you see your friends, you see other band parents. You see them constantly, and then all of a sudden you don't see any of them in person. I think it's more of a traumatic experience than people want to give it credit for. So, I think a lot of programs would take advantage of this with the grouping limitations being lifted. Just get everybody there. Let's just all get on the field. We're still gonna socially distance, and you're gonna bathe in hand sanitizer. But at least let's get some camaraderie back. Let's get that unity back. There's, like I said, you can only get so much over a computer. You can only get so much over FaceTime and Zoom. Nothing is going to beat the experience of being there with your friends on the field, burning like a baked potato in the sun. There's a big mental health aspect to this that is not talked about very often because it's uncomfortable and people still think that it makes you weak. It doesn't. The sooner programs can get more students involved within the guidelines that the UIL has posted, the better it's going to be, not just for the program, the Fall 2020 show, not just for the contest going on there, but just for the mental health and overall vibe of the program and the individual. So, kudos to the UIL. Congratulations, Dr. Kent, on adapting, adjusting, and, keeping everybody safe. This is really awesome. This is fantastic news. Like I said, I wasn't expecting this at all. But I wasn't, at any point, I was thinking, well, the UIL is just going to fold its arms and be like, well, these are the guidelines, and you're just going to have to deal with it. And it's going to be like that for 2 months. No, I don't think anybody thought that. There was always going to be room for improvement. There was always going to be room to talk about, let's what are we allowed to do, and how do we implement it? And this is fantastic leadership from the UIL to make sure that we at least attempt to have a full fall marching season. Again, baby steps. We calm down. We look at it rationally. And then we move forward, and then we adjust. And I'm sure programs are going to adjust their schedule. Some may just keep it the way it is, but there's still some room there to play around with. So this is exciting stuff. It's good news. Hopefully we get some better news next week or the next couple of weeks. So we'll see how it goes. But as of right now, I'm done here. Again, UIL updated their band guidelines, 50% indoor capacity starting on June 22nd. Grouping limitations have been removed, effective immediately. You still got a social distance when not actively practicing or rehearsing. And you should maintain at least 10 feet of distance when performers are actually performing. We'll see how it goes. Exciting stuff. I know a lot of people are excited. A lot of people are pumped. So let's keep getting after it. Continue to be safe, wear your sunscreen, drink your water, take care of yourselves, and I will talk to you probably in the next couple of days or so. Thank you all so much for listening. I really appreciate the support from the people who have been listening since the beginning, and new people that are tuning in possibly today. So welcome. Everybody's welcome here. Nothing but love. Let's continue talking about this wonderful activity. I'm done here. I'll talk to you all soon. Take care. Adios. Bye-bye.